Hey everybody, Nobleness D here. So it's the season that people have and receive wonderful things, so I thought I'd bring you guys something for the season. And I just recently drove 5,000 kilometers across the country. Epic, I must say. And I walked in the door of first stop, my parents' house, and there's an atlas sitting on the table. This atlas right here. And I just take one glance at it and I see North and South America. And I go over and I stand over it for a good 2 or 3 minutes just gazing at it, kind of heartbroken. Damn it. What the hell is South America doing there? So this is actually a atlas from 1977 and came from my grandmother's house originally. And it just so happens that I used to look at this atlas when I was a young child, in around 7 years old or so. And I spent a lot of time. I love this. As I said, I know maps pretty good. I used to love looking at this, even at 7 years old. And so eventually, a few hours later, I open this atlas. And what I find is not a part of the atlas, but it is in the atlas. What I find is this pamphlet. I'm kind of like, that's odd. That looks familiar. Yes, it is. It would be. The reason being, I'm the one who left this in the atlas at 7 years old, approximately. I did so because there's a map inside, and a map belongs in the atlas. And I loved it. I don't know why I loved it, but I really, really did. And man, am I happy I left it here. So this is a pamphlet from Exxon Oil, referring to and talking about oil reserves. And we get a few pictures in here. So this pamphlet is from it's approximately sometime after 1972, pre-1976. So we'll just go ahead and call it about 1975. It doesn't have an actual date on it, but a few references within. So this is approximately from 1975. And when I open this and I turn it, look at what I find. This, my friends, is absolutely wonderful in my books. And what this is a representation of oil reserves in the world. And as you can see, Saudi Arabia region is massive, and Africa is pretty big. And so this isn't a real map, no. But what this is a map, is a picture depicting oil reserves by size, but using a map-like picture, which is exactly why it wasn't changed. And if you look, there it is. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing right there in my books. I don't know about you guys, but that is the best thing anybody could receive for the season. Oh, I love that. It made me feel so good. So clearly we have South America, where it's supposed to be, pretty much directly underneath North America. And we have also some sort of depiction of Europe, which I found interesting as well. And I'll get back to that in a moment. And the other interesting part I found on this was Indonesia, which I'll get back to in a moment. So, there's South America and North America. And currently today, this is our North America and South America. As many of you know, basically directly under Florida is the west coast of South America. Now, one of those parts I'd like to focus in on is where the Yucatan Peninsula comes up and comes, pretty close to Florida, and Cuba's kind of stuck in the middle for the most part. As a few people have mentioned, if this keeps heading in that direction, we're going to have a lake. But, you know, I don't think it's going to move much more necessarily. But that's what we have. And if you take a look at this, you see how wide open the Gulf is? This is the way I remember it. This is the way it was. I am convinced of that. I know maps quite well. As I mentioned, I was gazing at maps when I was 7 years old. And this is the way our continents are supposed to be. So I'm not going to get into too many ideas and predictions and whatnot in this video, but man, is that beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And basically in this depiction, like, if this is Mexico coming down, it should be all the way up, you know. I mean, clearly there's a massive difference. South America is directly underneath North America, and the Gulf is huge, wide open to the ocean for the most part. The way it was, the way it should be. Second thing I'd like to bring your attention to is the United Kingdom. And the reason being, I had mentioned this in a couple of my videos, where I remember the United Kingdom not pointing basically at a 1030 point. If you were to go from the bottom towards the top, it's kind of pointing in a 1030 direction. I remembered it more or less being at a 130 direction. And I did mention this in a couple of my videos. I think the Berlin Wall one was one of them, which I must say I'm not really so sure on the Berlin Wall situation, but at the very least, the United Kingdom was not pointing at a 1030, it was pointing more like a 130, let's say. And in this depiction of the world, look what we have. We have England pointing at basically a 130 direction. As well as Italy. I know this isn't very, you know, it's pretty much a half-ass map, no doubt, but nonetheless, Italy's pointing almost straight down with the shoe of the boot, you know, kind of pointing off to the southwest. And currently, we have India cocked way back, as a few people have mentioned on the internet. They don't remember Italy being that far back, as far as, you know, how close the heel is to Greece. It was a little bit more, almost straight down, not quite, and Sicily would have been actually farther away. In fact, the entire Mediterranean should be a lot bigger. Won't get into too much of all that, but generally, there's Italy now. There's kind of a concept of what Italy should be. I know that is a bit of a stretch. It's a little bit hard, but, you know, still, it does support what people are remembering. And the only other thing in this map I have, map-like concept, I know it's not a real map, but let me tell you, I love it all the more, is Indonesia. Here, Indonesia is represented with 3 major islands. Well, previously, I can't say I had perfect memory, you know, of what Indonesia was or what it was supposed to be. I had some general ideas. But one thing that I believe I might have mentioned in a couple of my videos, but I'll mention now for sure, is this island in the middle. Just, there's no way that used to exist. It's just funky shape, you know, got like this horseshoe shape going on. Like, I would have remembered that. It's so unique in its shape, and I didn't, you know. I don't know how it is now, if it's a handful of different small islands put together, land come up from below. I don't know for sure, but I can tell you that this was not in my memory and was new to me. So currently what we have nowadays, we have